Hi there, this is Tony from pianotone.ca. This is an entry-level digital piano Clash of the Titans shootout between the Yamaha P145 or possibly the P143, depending where you live, and Kawai's new addition to their portable ES lineup, the recently released Kawai ES60. I don't own these pianos, but I have them both rented for this comparison. They both currently sell for pretty much the same price at about $500 US, and they're both from really good quality manufacturers, so this is going to be a super interesting comparison. Let's check it out. Okay, key action. Let's start there. Now keep in mind, key action is a very personal choice. Some people like lighter actions, others like heavier actions, etc. Neither is right or wrong, it's just personal preference. My personal preference is for actions that are a bit on the lighter side, but most importantly, actions that are fast, fun, and feel responsive. So not heavy and not slow to respond or mushy feeling. Both of these pianos have 88 fully weighted and graded hammer action keys. The P145's action is a newer action from Yamaha, the Graded Hammer Compact or GHC action. This is a modified version of the GHS action from the prior P45 model, which was a super popular action on many Yamaha pianos for a very long time. The GHC is slightly more compact, but at least to me it feels very much the same playing experience as the GHS. It is a little bit on the light side, but it's fast and responsive, and that's why this action was, up until very recently, by far my favorite fully weighted key action. And even though it's been relegated to number 2, I do still really enjoy playing the action on the Yamaha P145. Okay, the key action on the Kawai ES60 is actually a brand new action from Kawai called Responsive Hammer Light. I recently did a full review on the ES60, and if you watched that video, you already know this is my new favorite fully weighted key action. It actually doesn't really feel the same as the Yamaha action, but the best way I can describe it is it offers me a similar and familiar, but better playing experience. It's also fast, fun, and very responsive. It's probably a touch lighter than the Yamaha action, but they're pretty close. But there are some differences here, and for a couple of them, I think it's fair to say that regardless of personal preference, these differences make the Kawai's a better key action than the Yamaha. Okay, so first off, all portable digital pianos, and some much more so than others, suffer from a similar issue. As you play further up into the keys can start to feel a little bit heavier. This is really common. The P145 does have this issue to a degree as well. It's just plain physics. As you approach the pivot point, the force required is going to increase. Think of sitting close to the middle of a seesaw instead of sitting at the end. While I have no idea how Kawai did this, especially in an entry-level portable piano, but there is almost no discernible weight difference as you play into the keys on the Kawai. I'm going to gently tap on middle C on both of these pianos, and I'm going to try my best to just tap reasonably lightly and move up the keys, and we'll see if we notice any difference between how these two behave. So let's try it on the P145. So you could see, and I could definitely feel, that it was getting heavier up at the top. Trying to maintain my pressure, I wouldn't even sound a note. Now let's do the same thing on the Kawai, and I'll try to keep my pressure consistent. I know this isn't super scientific, but I'm right at the end, the very end of the key, as far as I can physically move up the key, and I can still tap on it, maybe just a minuscule harder, and get a note. And as soon as I move down even a slight bit, I'm not noticing any difference. Up here on the Yamaha, there's a pretty big difference. So in all honesty, has this issue ever been an issue for me in my playing? Not really, but I'm not an advanced player. I just pound on chords and have fun. I've only really noticed this issue occasionally. It's usually if I'm trying to play a slow and kind of a precise ballad that's got some, bigger chords in it that require me to play far up the key bed. But advanced classical and jazz players will probably notice this issue pretty quickly on most digital pianos, so those players will appreciate that benefit on the Kawai ES60's action. Okay, the next difference is the key travel. The Kawai has just a slightly longer key travel or slightly longer key depth, which just gives the player a tiny bit more granular control over their dynamics. which allows you to play just a little bit more expressively. Now, often pianos with a deeper key travel will end up feeling less responsive as a result, but the ES60 doesn't. It still feels very responsive, just like the Yamaha does. So in my opinion, that's another big advantage the ES60's action has over the Yamaha, regardless of personal preference. And one final difference to mention, but this one is a personal preference. The keys on the P145 have a matte finish just on the black keys and a shiny, smooth finish on the white keys. The ES60 has a really nice matte finish on all of the keys, and I prefer that. So my verdict on the key action between these two pianos, I love both of these key actions, but at least for me, the ES60 clearly beats out the P145 in this area. Okay, sounds. Sounds are also a personal preference. Some people like brighter pianos, others prefer bassier, woodier sounds, etc. But right off the bat, the Kawai ES60 has 17 sounds versus the Yamaha P145's 10. Something to quickly note, though, is that 3 of the voices on the ES60 are bass guitars. The ES60 allows you to split voices, so bass guitars are kind of a needed addition. The P145 does not allow you to split voices, so that's a point in favor of the ES60, but we're probably comparing 14 voices to 10, not 17 as a result. So in the upcoming demo, I'm going to go through these category by category so that I can try and compare apples to apples. One thing to keep in mind as you listen to these voices, especially for the pianos, is that the Kawai ES60 annihilates the P145 in polyphony at 192. That's actually pretty high for an entry-level digital piano. The P145 has 64 notes of polyphony, which is probably maybe a little bit on the low side for an entry-level digital piano. Now, I'm not good enough of a player to have ever noticed note drop-offs from a lack of polyphony, but extra polyphony also does give the manufacturer the option to beef up the detail and the resonance on their samples. So let's all take a close look to the pianos in particular. Another important thing to take note of here is how this recording is being made. Both of the pianos are connected to my mixer, which is then in turn connected to my audio interface. The mixer's not adding any effects or anything. But because the Kawai ES60, and we'll get to this when we talk about connectivity, has proper left and right line out ports, those are connected to the mixer for a nice clean signal. The P145 does not have those ports, so as a result I have to use the headphone port with a splitter cable to the mixer. So that does give the Kawai a little bit of an advantage in these recordings, but that's also why left and right lineouts are a big feature, so fair is fair. So what did you think of the sounds? I know it's personal preference, but here's how I would sum these up. The pianos on the Yamaha are great and totally usable, but the pianos on the ES60 just seem to have more detail to me. Both main piano voices are nice and bright, which is to my liking, but I definitely prefer the Kawais. And the Kawai also offers that third mellow piano, which isn't found on the P145, so you do have one more voice at your disposal. The Rhodes electric pianos on both are great. They both have a nice, decent bark when you play with more dynamics. A Wurlitzer is noticeably missing on the P145, but the Wurlitzer that is on the ES60 is probably the weakest voice, although a second mellower Rhodes that is included on the ES60 would work in a pinch as a substitute. Now, the Yamaha DX electric piano is understandably far better sample on the Yamaha than it is on the Kawai. Strings on both keyboards are totally good and they layer nicely with pianos without being too overpowering. But a big thing missing on the P145 for a player that wants just kind of the bread and butter voices is there's no jazz organ or Hammond B3 organ on there. That's a significant thing that's missing on the P145, especially given that the P145 has two church organs, a harpsichord, accordion, and a DZ. So I have to think it would have made sense for Yamaha to replace one of those voices with a jazz organ. Also note that the voices are slightly different on the P143. Instead of the accordion and the DZ, they have a second harpsichord and a vibraphone. Not really worried about any of that. Those are all voices I would never use anyways. So for me, not only because I prefer the ES60's piano sounds, but also because it has a better selection of voices, most importantly including a jazz organ and a Wurlitzer alternative, I definitely feel the ES60 wins the sound battle. And don't forget, you also have the ability to split voices and play bass in your left hand with the ES60, and that's not only tons of fun and a common need, and that's missing on the P145. Okay, the user interface. Both of these pianos suffer from the same thing, really basic user interfaces that make you use key combinations to do pretty much everything, even select voices. I've made it pretty clear on my channel that I'm not a fan of basic interfaces like this, but I've got to remember these are entry-level pianos, and it's got to be way cheaper for manufacturers to be able to keep the costs down by minimizing the physical controls, and then try to make up for that with companion apps that you can use on an iPad or a tablet to make controlling your piano easier. And that's the good news because both the P145 and the ES60 have really good companion apps that make controlling their respective pianos super easy. Yamaha has the Smart Pianist app and Kawai has the Piano Remote app. Those are both awesome applications. I'm not going to bother demoing those here, but believe me, they're really, really good. You can check each of them out in a little bit more detail in my full reviews on the P145 and the ES60 if you like. Those have links in the description below if you want to check those out. Now, I'm not going to bother going into all of the different key combinations for these two pianos, which would just take forever. Once again, those are noted in my full reviews. I'm just going to note some of the differences that kind of stand out to me. First off, the P145 has actual labels for each one of the voices on the front panel. The Kawai just has labels for categories. And the procedure for layering voices on the Yamaha is nice and simple. You just hold the function button and you press two voices and they're layered together. And this is fine because there are only 10 voices and because for the voice combination keys, Yamaha used the white and the black keys. Entire range of voices is nice and close together and easy to reach as a result. The Kawai only uses the white keys for their voice labels and it has 17 voices instead of 10, so these voices are too far apart for one hand to be able to reach to press two keys at the same time. So you end up having to do some kind of finger pretzeling on your hands to layer voices that are far apart. All the more reason to just be using the apps and not worrying about key combinations. But then Kawai outdid Yamaha because it kept on labeling things. It labeled more key combinations further up the keyboard for things like controlling your metronome, transposing keys, etc. Yamaha stopped just labeling the voices, so it would really be nice if Yamaha was to, at the very least, label transposing up and down. So my verdict on the user interfaces, pretty easy, it's a draw. They're both very basic, so my advice, download and use the companion applications. Okay, connectivity. This is going to be an interesting comparison because the Kawai has a huge feature almost never seen in this price range that the Yamaha doesn't have. But then Kawai is missing a feature that is available on the Yamaha. And the way Yamaha chose to implement this feature actually offers multiple advantages over the Kawai. So before we get to those two big items, let's go over the other stuff. Both keyboards have a generic sustain pedal port that is compatible with half pedaling if you buy the appropriate pedal separately from the manufacturer. Both pianos ship with a basic plastic brick switch pedal. Note that the Yamaha P145, which is sold in Canada and other parts of the world, also has a triple pedal port. The P143, sold in the USA and other parts of the world, does not have a triple pedal port. It's weird, but it's true. Both pianos have quarter-inch stereo headphone ports. Kawai did a better job there because they put the headphone port on the front. Yamaha's is on the back. Now, if you're wondering about Bluetooth, neither piano has any Bluetooth functionality, although I should note that I've just noticed Yamaha has released a P145 BT that is now equipped with Bluetooth. I'm going to be looking into that soon, so stay tuned to my channel for more info. Okay, so now on to the huge feature that the Kawai has that the Yamaha P145 does not. The Kawai ES60 has proper 1/4 inch left and right line out ports for proper connections to external audio equipment like PAs, amps, mixing boards, PA systems, and audio interfaces. This is a feature you rarely see in a piano in this price range. Competitors like the P145 only have the headphone out to use for connecting to external audio equipment, which does work, but it's not ideal. As a result, casual or even professional gigging musicians can consider using the Kawai ES60 to perform with. And then that's going to get them some great sounds and key action in a budget stage piano, so not having to spend a lot of money. So both keyboards have a USB to host port to connect to a device, and both transmit MIDI data over that connection. So you can use MIDI-compatible apps on your devices with either piano. But here is the big difference in the P145's favor. On the Yamaha, this connection has a built-in audio interface, so it also transmits audio, and it does that in both directions. So with the Yamaha, all of the following features are available, and none of these are available on the Kawai. You can connect directly to a phone from your USB connection on the P145 to record a piano video with direct high-quality audio. You can connect directly to a device running DAW software and record an audio track without the need for an external audio interface or cables. And you can stream audio from your device to your piano speakers and headphones. So then that way you can listen to online piano lessons playing on your tablet, play along with YouTube videos or backing tracks. And you're going to hear that audio from your device and your piano through your piano's headphones or speakers. So that is a lot of missing functionality on the Kawai, but what makes it an even bigger issue, in my opinion, is a lot of keyboards don't have Bluetooth to stream audio in. Lots don't have that built-in USB audio interface. But almost all of those pianos, or even cheap under $100 keyboards, will at least add in an auxiliary in port, so you can connect your device to your keyboard with a cable and still stream in external audio. But Kawai didn't even include an auxiliary in, so there is no way to stream external audio into the Kawai ES60 speakers or headphones to play along with. As I outlined in my full review on the ES60, this isn't the end of the world because you can address this if you buy some cables and a basic mixer of some sort. But it's just perplexing to me that Kawai would add such a great feature like left and right line outs and ignore such a basic common feature like incoming audio. So who wins the connectivity battle between these two pianos? It would easily be the Kawai ES60 if it had any of Bluetooth audio in, a USB audio interface, or even just an auxiliary in port. But without those, you have to consider what's important to you. For me, since I play in bands and I love performing, the left and right line outs are vital for me. Like I said, I can address the issue of no audio in streaming options with a basic mixer and some cables. But I can't just add left and right line out ports to a P145 to perform with, so for me, I would live with needing the extra equipment for audio streaming, and I choose the ES60 just simply because of the line out ports. Now, if you have no intention of performing now or in the future, and you don't feel like going to the extra aggravation of having to hook up a mixer and cables, etc., to be able to stream in external audio, you might be better off with the P145 because it's going to be much easier for you to stream in external audio to play with, and for easily making piano videos as well. And you can also still make high-quality recordings because you don't need the left and right line outs. You can just use the audio interface built into that USB port. But come on, Kawai, please address this in the next release of the ES60. Okay, speakers. Now, as far as speakers go, there is no comparison. The speakers on the Kawai ES60 are probably the loudest, clearest, best-sounding speakers I've ever heard out of a portable digital piano. They're 10 watts per side for a total of 20 watts, and even though the speaker grill's face down and I don't see any venting on the top, they project to the player really, really well, and they don't distort even at high volumes. They're even powerful enough that they could probably be used as decent extra monitors at a gig when your line outs are connected to a PA system. The speakers on the P145 sound fine, but they're only loud enough for personal use. They're 7 watts per side for a total of 14. They face out the back of the piano. But there's more to it than just wattage. They just don't come close to the ES60s for loudness and clarity. Here's a quick video comparing the speakers, just as picked up by my iPhone. Okay, other features. The P145 has 4 types of reverb with 10 levels of depth for each. The Kawai ES60 has 3 types only with no depth level adjustments, so a little bit of an edge to the Yamaha there. Both keyboards have the ability to transpose and they both have a metronome, but the ES60 also has 30 pretty well programmed rhythms that you can play along with. And this is a great feature to have that's missing on the P145. It's a lot more fun and in my opinion, educational to play along with a drum beat, which has a feel, than just to play along with a boring metronome. Only problem is the rhythms on the ES60 are kind of clunky to access. You have to cycle through them sequentially, but hey, at least they're there. Okay, the verdict. What's the verdict in this piano shootout? Well, if you follow my channel, you know that I'm a huge Yamaha fan, and in keyboard shootouts on my channel involving Yamaha, it does tend to come out on top. But not this time. In my opinion, for an identical price of $500 US for either of these pianos, you're getting so much more with the Kawai ES60. You're getting a kind of a similar feel, but a better quality key action, in my opinion. You're getting more and arguably better voices, more polyphony, the ability to split voices as well as layer, far better speakers, and left and right line outs for connecting to external audio equipment. The only real advantage of the Yamaha P145 is that built-in USB audio interface. And don't get me wrong, that is a massive feature. But like I said, you can add functionality externally to the Kawai ES60 to deal with audio streaming, basic mixer and some cables. But you can't just go out and add left and right line out ports to the P145. So my recommendation, as much as I like, and I do still recommend the P145 as a great entry-level digital piano, I think the Kawai ES60 is the new king of the hill for entry-level fully weighted digital pianos. It's definitely the one that I would be buying. So that's pretty much it for this video. If you found the content helpful, please feel free to smash the like button and subscribe to my channel. That does really help me out. I've left links in the description below to check out current prices on these pianos, as well as links to my full reviews on the Kawai ES60 and P145 if you want to dig deeper on these. And as always, I have some links to some online piano training that worked great for me that I can highly recommend. So thanks again for stopping by. Happy piano shopping and have an awesome day.